Today we're going to be reviewing the General's Charcoal 557-HB Hard Charcoal Pencil. This is the second in a series where I'm reviewing each of the individual charcoal pencils that I use during my process. It's a nice insight to focus on a single pencil at a time. So stick around. It's going to be fun. Okay, today we're doing the General's 557 HB Hard Pencil. As we said in the description, I don't really go with any kind of script. I just kind of free flow what I'm doing, but I tend to use the HB. This picture is going to be a good example of how I use the HB. I don't use it a whole heck of a lot because I feel like it falls right in between the 2H and the 2B, which it does obviously, but in that general area I don't really use it a lot. So where I do use it is when I'm starting areas of texture, like I'm getting these kind of almost, not sure if these are going to be feathers or what that is there, but that's when I actually start using the pencil, because I'll start, it's just dark enough to start laying in the dark values without going overboard quite yet, because this is a layering process. It's not something you just lay down the dark and there you go. You kind of layer it up to where you want it to be. And I think that's the magic of this process as well, is that it can change as you're moving along. So it's good for these small little details, just getting in the lines and going, okay, what do I want to do here? It also is nice because it can erase out if you need to, or blends in nicely. You know, nicely that kind of blends in there. It doesn't, it's not hard enough to have to push it into the fibers of the paper, but nice enough to start giving you some of that detail that you're looking for. And nice, it gradiates out. That's really a nice thing about this particular one. You can start that. You can start shaping with this pencil. Losing those lines a little bit. I talk a lot about that. A lot about trying to lose the lines. Shadows in the teeth area against the skin. I'll also use these when I'm having areas where I know I'm experimenting with what shape I want it to be. So I'm thinking I want these kind of, I don't even know what you call these things, but this shape, this skin type, you know, almost like horns or whatever. I know I kind of want them Well, I think I kind of want them kind of coming out. Maybe one's broken. This one looks like it's kind of broken a little bit. This is where this is good because I can still erase this if I need to, or blend it into something else. Do you see it's hard enough? It pushes that. You can see here, it'll push that soft charcoal kind of out of the way. So even here, I'll start thinking about shadow. And putting it in. Just lightly. Just where do I want the shadows to be? So this actually is a little bit more of a drawing pencil than the 2H. 2H is really light. But once I get it in, I'm going to move to this pencil or a 2H even, or a 2B pretty darn quickly. The nice thing too is about this, because it is an HB hard, you can see how sharp you can get the points. And that's a lot, a lot of people talk about that's why they don't like the charcoal. They use the big sticks and stuff like that and talk about how messy it is. And this technique, it's really not messy at all. It can be on the outside edges, and you can see here, I get it on my hand. I have to watch that. But that's because I'm working centralized. This is a long way from where I'm drawing to this paper over here. And sometimes I use a bar like this so that I can rest my hand on it. It has a rubber piece over here, so you just lay it down, you put your hand on it, so you can start really getting into these little details, and let the soft charcoal talk to you. You can see there's a little line here. It's like, oh, that's a good place for another little feather here. Let it talk to you a little bit. Don't just say, oh, this is what I want to do. Don't get too entrenched into what you see in your head. Let loose. Let it talk to you a little bit. Find those lines, those textures. It's going to leave you texture. This is the hard part too, is this, because it pushes, if it's dark like this, it does not work as well. It's got to be in these mid values. Then it works really, really good. And that's why a lot of times you'll see in the next video where I do the 2B works better in these darker areas here, because you even see here with the eyeball, I like that dark and I'm going to want to keep it dark, but if I go in with this, it just is going to push that dark, and I have to go in harder to make sure I get it. And here I'd probably go in with a 2B. You can do it with this, but with a 2B, it's just, that whole thing, the right tool for the job. You can do it with this, but it's so much easier with the 2B. And you'll see that next video. adding the shadows, that the eyebrow goes over the eye. This is a great pencil for that. So you'll see this is definitely more of a drawing pencil. And I apologize if when you're watching this, or you see me counter myself sometimes, because it all depends on the value you're on. Just like if I'm here, I'm going to use this super light. I'm going to use the hard, the 2H hard, because if I hit this with this, it's definitely going to be darker. But here in this mid value range, this is going to be the tool for the job. So if you watch them all in a row and you say, well, he says this one's good for drawing, and then he comes in and he says, no, this one's good for drawing. Keep in mind, a lot of it is going to be for you experimenting, but it's going to be on the value in which I'm applying the pencil or the charcoal pencil. So please keep that in mind as you're going along. This works great for this value. 2H would not work in here. Too hard. 2H would be, 2B would work, but not. So in this, you'll find I do most of my drawing with this HB in these small little areas just to define what I want. I'll soon move into the 2B in a lot of this. Because here's the other thing about the softer, the less you got to scrub into the fibers of the paper, and because of that, you'll be able to erase it and remove it a lot easier. The harder the pencil, the more you got to scrub to get it dark. The more you got to scrub, the more it's permanent. And I think that's also a reason why I tend to move to the 2B, because I want to be able to erase it if I don't want it. This you can do it as long as you keep it light. But if you start going dark, really dark, you're gonna have to scrub it in. When you scrub it in, it's gonna be permanent. But here's another, this teeny little shape. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a nice shape. In the dark, the light, I think I'm gonna do all of these little pieces darker on the tips and lighter. But think about the shape it's making, that breaking into this white section here. Kind of matches this, duplication of shapes, always a great idea. Think about the bone structure here. Think about the tooth. The tooth is in this lower jaw, so a teeny little shadow in these areas. Going to show some bone structure. See how it pushes that softer charcoal? I blow on it a lot to get rid of that. I use the brush to help me create some texture. See how I'm twisting the brush? And I know this is a 2B thing, but it's got to be back and forth. Brush to pencil, pencil to brush. And then follow what the brush did. Use these great little lines. Go ahead and use them. That's that nice texture. All right. So a short video, HB hard, how I use it. Like I said, I draw with this a lot. Only in the mid values though. Not often on the light. And the darker it is, the harder it just wants to push, or you can't see it all, and it just pushes that dark charcoal out of the way. So on an area like that, I would probably hit with my paintbrush first and paint in how I want it to start looking before I'd go in with my pencils. Keep in mind, this technique relies on the brushes. You paint your values, and then you go in and you add detail and value with your pencils. So anyhow, once again, HB Hard, it's a great drawing piece to start adding detail in your mid-value range right here. Like you can already tell, he's really already starting to come out of his shell a little bit just by adding some of these values in there. And then what I'll end up doing is going in with a 2B and just doing little strokes like that to hit where these little things. This, doing it with this, it takes 2 or 3 strokes, but with a 2B, I can go in those areas and just tap it and roll, and I'll get a nice dark hit there. So it shows this overlap of these feathers or whatever you want to call them, scales. So anyhow, you guys take care. And remember, the only thing we can do is just draw. It's the only control. Just draw. You guys take care. Bye.